the NBA has fined Joel Embiid $35,000 for his incident on the court with John Collins back in Game 6. So basically, what ended up happening, Mario, um, and I'll leave the video in the description down below if you want to go check it out. It'll also be in the article as well. But if you want that little shortcut, I'll give it to you. But so what ended up happening is Seth Curry tried to shoot a three, but he missed it. And when Joel Embiid went out to get the rebound, he ended up shoving John Collins with his arm, with his basically his arm or like his entire body, whatever. And he shoved him to the ground. And Joel Embiid went down to the ground. And then John Collins ended up giving him a little shove, and that's when they all got up. They got an offensive foul, and then they all started going into that scrabble. So Joel Embiid has been fined for that. Um, but yeah, Mario, obviously we talked about this. The Philadelphia 76ers, are out of the playoffs now. So, but he did get fined for this from Game 6. I have a quote from Embiid himself. It says in that quote, "I got a tech for it, and I didn't think it was an offensive foul. I was just trying to stay calm and have my hands up. And someone was pushing me from the back, and I don't understand why I got attacked." But yeah, Mario, and I also have a quote from Nate McMillan, who is the head coach of the Atlanta Hawks, said, and I quote, "You got to be smart out there. You have to play the game and protect yourself. There are situations where guys are getting hit, and they feel that those are fouls and that are unnecessary. And sometimes you just respond and you react in a situation like that. You try and keep your head, but you also tell other guys we have to protect ourselves as well." He also went on to say that situation with John and Embiid falling on his leg, it was a very similar situation that happened in Philadelphia where Embiid fell on his leg. Those are situations where guys just feel that you could really injure a player. I don't know how much Embiid weighs, but a guy like that falling on your leg, I think John just responded to that. So yeah, Mario, I'll pass on to you. But before I do, this article was written by Andrew Lopez of ESPN. So your thoughts on Joel Embiid getting fined $35K by the NBA?
I think it's stupid.
So do I.
I'm gonna be honest. Like, look, I'm a big fan of you, Adam Silver, but you gotta fix these rules, man. Like, I'm being honest. This is stupid. Were there any punches thrown? No. Okay. Did he get a tech? Yes. Did he get ejected? I do not believe so. But we're gonna fine him 35K. For what? So first of all, when he was on the ground, let me explain what happened. Okay, Seth Curry goes to shoot the three, misses it. And B gets the rebound, jumps up. Okay, basically, I don't want to say it bumps into him. I'm trying to think of the right word. He jumps up. As he's jumping up, he hits John Collins. John Collins falls to the ground with him. John Collins kind of gives him like a nice little, kind of like shoves him on the ground a little bit. Not like badly, but still. And B got up. If you actually watch, John Collins like kind of grabs Embiid like kind of like under his arm, and then Embiid kind of like waves his arms up in the air and kind of like walks forward. You know, he's gonna get fined 35K for that, and not only that, Bruno Fernando suspended without pay for leaving the bench. Which I know that's a rule. You can't leave the bench if you're on it, but still, I'm just not a big fan of this fine. I just think it's I don't know. I don't think it's worth a fine. I don't. Nobody got hurt. All right. I mean, obviously, like people were trying to break him up, but nobody got hurt. It's not like Embiid swung at the dude or like did anything like that. I'm just not a big fan of fun. Stuff like this is going to happen. It's as simple as that. Now, this is a very unique situation because I never seen somebody lift up their arms and walk another man basically walk another man, like push him without like even putting his hands on him. I never seen that before, but overall, I'm just not a big fan of fine. I just don't think it's really even worth that. Most likely by now, because this happened during the weekend, which is why we didn't do a video on it. Most likely by now, Joel Embiid might have paid it, might have not. I'm not quite sure, but all I know is I'm just not a big fan of it. I'm just not. And this is not the first time him and John Collins had issues with each other. These two have had issues with each other in the past. Like there was a time where Joel Embiid almost injured John Collins. There was times where they were trash talking each other back and forth. So they've had their little history with each other, And Joel Embiid has had his history with a bunch of different players. There's been players that he's not really he doesn't have a lot of, he doesn't really get along with. Let's put it that way. There was the incident with him and Karl Anthony Towns. There was the incident with him and Russell Westbrook. I'm trying to think. I know there's more. Marcus Smart and him got into some incidences before. So Joel Embiid he's had history of not getting along with other players, but regardless, I just don't think this is worth a $35,000 fine. As for leaving the bench, I understand it. Do I agree with that rule too? Not really, but I understand that is a part of the rules. And if you if you do leave the bench, you get suspended without pay. So I understand that part. But as for Joel Embiid's part, again, I just don't understand. I just don't think there should be a fine. Nobody got hurt. It wasn't that serious. He got a tech for it. Didn't really get. I don't even think he got ejected. So I just don't think it's worth a fine, a $35,000 fine, when you could give that fine to some other issues that are much more bigger that you guys just didn't capitalize on. So I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of it, Nate. But with that being said, obviously the playoffs are over now. The Philadelphia 76ers got eliminated. With that being said, again, I wish them the best of luck in the offseason. As for the Atlanta Hawks, best of luck to you guys against Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. But as for the fine, Nate, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah, neither am I. It was just like a little scuffle. It really wasn't. It really wasn't anything as bad as you would normally see in other sports, or in other situations where punches are actually thrown and stuff like that. See, if there was a punch thrown, then yeah, I'd understand that. But there was no punches thrown, So I don't really like this, You know what I mean? So I don't understand why that was a fine to begin with. I really don't. It's just so dumb. And like you mentioned, and I'm pretty sure I forgot to mention it, but this wasn't the first time they've had problems with each other. You know what I
Right.
mean? Maybe that's why he was fine. I'm not sure. But again, I just think it's dumb,
I don't even think
regardless
it's
of it.
that. I don't even think it's that. I just think this is a way for the NBA to stop all of this like physical altercation and stuff in general, which I understand. Some of it's not right, but in this case, this is just a soft thing to do. And on top of that, John Collins, if you look at him on the ground, he kind of starts talking,
He
and
kind of
then
shoved him a little bit too.
yeah, he shoved him a little bit on the ground too. And then when they both got back up, and if you look at the video, John Collins kind of grabs like under like the arm too.
Yeah.
Right. Embiid's hands are up, and then he grabs like under the arm, and then Embiid starts walking him like down, and then he let, and then obviously what took place, but nobody got hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, Mark, I don't know. I really don't know. Like, I'm not a big fan of this fine. And I wouldn't be surprised if they end up like the MLB, where a pitcher gets suspended 7 games because he wanted to scream at some guy. But then a pitcher who intentionally throws at somebody gets a 3-game suspension. I hope they don't turn out to be like that. I really don't.
I hope so.
I hope that's not. I hope that doesn't become the case. Same thing. You look at the NHL. The Rangers were fined $250,000 because they didn't like the fine that they put on Tom Wilson, which that should have been an even bigger fine. That should have led to a suspension. That should have led to more than a $5,000 fine.
Agree.
You know what I
All
mean?
right.
So I really do hope that the NBA isn't following that trend. Because we all know the NHL and the MLB have not been handling those situations as well as they should. So, but overall, again, like you mentioned, the Sixers aren't in the playoffs anymore. So I do wish them the best of luck in the offseason. I just don't think this is a situation worth being fined. So, it is what it is. So at the end of the day, you gotta respect it. So with that being said, best of luck to Joel and beating the 76ers. As for the Atlanta Hawks, best of luck to you guys against the Bucks. And honestly, Mario, I'm excited for this year's Eastern Conference Finals, even though the Celtics aren't in it. But anyway, yeah, best of luck to the Sixers again. Best of luck to the Hawks and Bucks, and can't wait for the conference finals.